Hi everyone, Kelly here, and I'm coming at you today with a little watercolor and ink exercise. I like to do this every once in a while, and I thought I'd share it with you. I never really know exactly how it's going to turn out. It's the equivalent of doodling except with watercolor and ink. It's kind of a fun, interesting process. I use Arches cold pressed 140-pound 100% cotton paper. It's the best one for this kind of technique, in my opinion, of course. So this morning, it is January 24th, the day after the Chiefs won against the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not gloating. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, I feel for you. The reason it's so exciting for me because I'm really not like a hardcore football fan. I don't know everything there is to know about football at all. But Kansas City has a really bad habit of finally putting together a great team. And the year after they win the Super Bowl, or especially with baseball's even worse. But, we'll win the World Series, and then the next year or two, our best players get recruited away, and we have to start all over. And I don't know why that is, but I'm hoping Patrick Mahomes seems to really like Kansas City, and he wasn't born here, but he seems to like it. And I don't know what exactly brought him here. I'm sure it's on the internet. But I'm glad he's here, and I hope he stays because he's real good for Kansas City. He seems like somebody with great character. Okay, now back to the painting. So how I do this, all these little orbs, they look like, I don't know, they look like little rocks. And I just wet them down. And on one side I put one color, and on the other side I put another color. And they kind of meet in the middle and commingle. And I like to watch the process. It's kind of fun to watch how watercolor creeps along. It's beautiful. I think I enjoy the process more almost than whatever happens in the end. But I'm usually pleased with the way it looks. And it's one of those fun exercises that actually ends up looking like something that you intended to do. And those are fun. Now, as far as the kind of watercolor I use, I tend to favor four brands, but I'm really not brand loyal. I favor, probably my very favorite is M. Graham. My second, probably, well, I don't know. I mean, they all have their things, but Core is extremely vibrant, and on the right paper and the right techniques, it's very dynamic. I also like Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton. I think Winsor Newton wins out for me over Daniel Smith. But you know what? It used to frustrate me so much when I was learning watercolor, and I would go online looking at tutorials and no one would tell me what to buy. Just tell me what to buy. And they all would kind of mamby-pamby. In my opinion, it was mamby-pamby. But I know why they do it now, because it is so personal. What I like is not necessarily going to be what you like. So I don't want to focus on the kind of watercolor I use. I think as long as you're using one of the good brands or one of the good student grade paints, the paper is what really makes the difference. And when you're doing ink, line, and wash, then it's the pens. Oh my gosh, the pens. Well, you know how I like to use my Kohinoor technical pens. And they'll work on textured paper as long as you're using the bigger nibs. Anything over the 2/0 is probably good, but anything smaller, I've been having a lot of trouble with them. Somebody suggested a platinum ultra extra fine. Oh my gosh, that was so tempting, but I have so many pens already. I think that until I really get very intimately familiar with them and know exactly what I can do with them, it's probably not wise to add another pen to my collection because too many choices confuse me. I have found that too many choices are not a good thing for me. I get overwhelmed and I get so caught up in what do I use that I don't actually do anything. So maybe someday I'll invest in that. But for now, I'll tell you what I'm using. Last summer, I got a Wing Sung 14 karat gold nib, and it was a splurge because it's a solid 14 karat gold nib, but it flexes, so it'll give a little bit of line variation. On stippling, I really like to use different line weights or nib breadths. Is that right? Breadths. Anyway, I think it's more effective when you have some heavy dots along with some very, very fine, barely there dots. And same with lines too. I really like to use line variation. So I pulled out this pen, and it's a little bit of work because I have to press down and hold to get bigger dots, and it's a little bit of work, and I don't know, it makes my hand hurt after a while. I heard someone else talk about that, and it's really true, but I think maybe I just need to get used to doing it. And I also used a platinum carbon pen. They have a platinum carbon pen, and it's very inexpensive. It's about $14. And then I got a converter so I wouldn't have to use their cartridges because I already have a lot of ink. And so for what, like maybe $30, which is not terribly expensive as fountain pens go, but it puts down a nice, fairly fine, consistent line. There's no real line variability. It's pretty stiff, but if you're looking for a fountain pen to use on textured watercolor paper and you don't have a lot of money, it never clogs. Man, that thing is a beast. It's just really good. So unfortunately, I don't think I used it a lot in this painting, but I do use it and I really like it. I also have Peter Draw's first Peter pen, but I dropped it, and I mean I dropped it nib first, and that nib and that whatever comes with it, I don't know what all the technical stuff is, but it was so far in there it ain't coming out. So then I pulled out my son's pen, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It has actual acorns sliced up, and they incorporated that into the acrylic resin. I'm sure it's like an acrylic resin, and it's just beautiful. And he turned that pen for me. And the kit is from Woodcraft, and you can buy it online. I'll put a link in the description. But as you can see, it puts down a pretty generous amount of ink. The nib is a bit broader. So anyway, yeah, my Peter pen I don't use it much because and it's a shame. So I bought another one when the next one came out, and now I don't want to use it because I don't want to drop it. And I'm kind of sentimentally attached to that pen because what I did with it gave me a lot of confidence, and I have fond memories of drawing that portrait. But so I kind of using it for posterity, keeping it for posterity. And in the meantime, I'm using this pen that my son Ian made for me, and the Wing Sung, and the Platinum Carbon pen. Those are the three main pens I'm using. And I just need to learn to work them a little bit. I think they'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to completely switch gears, and I'm going to go back to the subject of inner voice. I did a little bit of research, and I came across another SciShow, and I'll put a link in the description. But they talk about the inner voice, and how can I? It led me to further research. The SciShow episode did. And what I found is that you can't really trust your memory of your inner life. They have some new methodology for researching. And, they said you need to be skeptical of your memory of what your inner life is like, that we're not very good. And it makes me wonder a little bit if it's really a function of our subconscious, that we're vaguely aware of it, but we're not real aware of it. But they didn't say that, so that's just my takeaway. But the way they do the research is they give people beepers, and they randomly beep them. And when the person gets the beep, they have to document their experience. So they have, I think it's DES, descriptive experience something. Anyway, and it turns out that most of us are not that aware of exactly how our inner experiences manifest. So like, you could think that you're speaking in linguistic terms, but you might actually be having a visual experience or another sensory experience. Like you could smell, I think they said you could smell mustard, and you're thinking about whether or not to have a hamburger or a hot dog, but what you're really doing is not linguistic. You're smelling mustard. I don't know. And so it prompted me to really pay attention to those dialogues that I have with famous people. And it turns out it's pretty one-sided conversation because like for instance, if I'm having a dialogue with Brian Greene and I'm thinking about this documentary that he did called I think it was like The Cosmos. I'll link that too because it's really, really good. But I'll be talking to him about what I took away from it. And he'll be just kind of nodding appreciatively, kind of acting like, you are so smart. You really get it, man. Not many people get this. Yeah, I'm a little bit of an egotist in my own. I am a little bit of an egotist in my own mind. But actually, what I wanted to say is that it's a very one-sided conversation, and they're just there for the most part, nodding and being a sounding board. But sometimes they do disagree with me, and they'll say, "No, that's not quite right." And so then I'm kind of wondering if that's my subconscious trying to work out what I actually saw and heard, and it's my way of processing it and assimilating it somehow. But okay, then the other thing, it's kind of amusing because, like I said, I'm kind of an egotist in my mind. Oh, and I'm going to interrupt myself about this bone folder. It's just a bone folder. It's something you use to crease paper, but it also works well to hold down your paper so that while you're drawing, you don't make marks that you don't intend to because the paper comes up or moves. Anyway, that's all that is. Okay, so back to inner voices. So what I found out is I'm not nearly as smart as I like to give myself credit for, because I'll see an interview. Like I saw an interview with Brian Greene, and the person who was interviewing him said something about, a lot of people think that this has a spiritual context to it. And they went over that, and Brian Greene said, well, that's a very common takeaway, but it's not what I was saying at all, and there's no evidence of that or what have you. Anyway, so what I found out is that a lot of people have the same takeaway that I do, and it's not strictly accurate. So, yeah. There's that. So if you're interested in finding more about inner voices and that whole inner monologue, dialogue, etc., and if you're interested in Brian Greene's Cosmos Journey Through, I can't remember it. See, I'm getting older and I have a lot of senior moments, so there's that too. But I'll find links and I'll put them in the description, so if you're interested, you can take a look and find out for yourself. Okay, now I'm going to take another turn. It's not even a tangent. I want to take a moment to thank you guys so much. I can't believe my first neurographic drawing video has gotten over 10,000 views. I can't even imagine. It just blows my mind. So thank you. And I appreciate all the wonderful comments so much. And so I did say something about working on my website. And I've had that website for a while. I wanted to make sure I got the domain name. And I'm not really ready to sell a lot of stuff yet because my studio is a mess. I've had to bring in files and paperwork and stuff and go through it. And my time is still not really my own. But I need to really go through my art and decide what I want to put on the website. So please be patient with me. I will probably put this painting on there because it's handy and it's very small. I think I'm going to sell it for $20 if anyone wants to buy it. But another reason I'm not keen on setting up the sales quite yet is shipping is confusing to me, and I have a hard time with that. I don't know how to package everything, and it's so expensive. There's got to be, I feel like I'm missing something, and I want to reuse packaging that I already have and yet still make it presentable. So anyway, I'm done with this painting and I'm getting ready to sign it. And I'm going to use carbon black, the platinum carbon ink, and a dip pen because it makes very, very, very tiny marks. And I'm looking for just the right place to sign this. I think signing is important. I did some research, and for the sake of providence, if somebody ever questions the authenticity, it's important for the signature to be on the painting and preferably on the front. But I have an aversion to, prominent signatures on artwork. So I like to kind of incorporate it someplace in the painting or the artwork that it's there and you can find it, but it's not obtrusive. So you can turn the piece whatever way you want to turn it. And the signature doesn't look upside down or cattywampus or whatever, because I think it's really obnoxious. But I still do. I'm proud of my work. I want to sign it. So anyway, there's that. And it's a whole big thing. Who knew? Anyway, so you can see you can turn this any way you want to turn it. You can turn your own artwork however you want to turn it. And you should have the freedom to do that. So I'm going to sign off today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and would like to see future videos, please like and subscribe, and be well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.